Lately, I've been receiving a lot of interesting comments. They're kind of a lot of the comments that I've gotten in the past, so this is just the new batch. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are new to the Video Game Fight School channel, I welcome you. You're about to learn a lot more about how this community works. Whenever I start getting a lot of these comments that in some cases are snide remarks, in some cases try to, in a sense, paint my credibility in a very strange light and so on and so forth, it is a regular PlayStation fan tactic. Some of the PlayStation fans, my fellow PlayStation fans, they don't know they're doing it, but they are doing it. Sometimes they may mean well, sometimes they may not. I can't necessarily judge a lot of motives from what is being written here. However, I can only take what is written how I see it. I have two for you guys that we're going to look at, and then we're going to focus on exactly what the matter is at hand. This comment says, it looks like you talk more about PlayStation's missteps rather than the gaming market as a whole. Exactly. The reason I do that is because I'm in the PlayStation ecosystem. I spend money here. I pay money here. I'm a consumer here. I'm a customer here. And right now, as a customer of PlayStation, I am not satisfied with their service to me compared to what the competition is offering. Hence, I voice my concern. There are other gamers who feel the same way or see the same things. But at the end of the day, what we would like to come to a consensus of is who's actually respecting our wallet and our time. Your second statement said, plus pumping out 3 to 4 videos a day for watch hours. I don't know what this comment is meant to actually convey. I do put out a lot of videos. I've been doing that for a number of years. I take breaks where I'll just not make as many videos. So when I come back, I just dump a whole load of videos on the platform. Now, if this is a remark to say that I'm doing it for watch hours, I think it's a little off because watch hours is not something you prioritize after you've gotten monetized. There's a whole different metric you actually look at, but I'm not going to tell you. So what I want to encourage you is to let's do this. Let's focus on exactly what the topic is at hand. Another audience member said this. They said, dude, from your vids, I'm sure you have no clue. Just rage baiter. Again, I would recommend that you actually help us to stay in or on point in the focus of exactly what we're discussing. Now, for you to say that I have no clue, you'd have to at least tell me what the clue actually is. To call me a rage baiter and call me basically, or at least inadvertently call me adult, it doesn't help the conversation. Because again, all that's designed to do is remove my focus from the matter at hand. But let me tell you guys something. My wallet is in here and I am incredibly focused on what my wallet is doing in gaming. So let's focus. And I'll teach you a lesson in focus. This is how we do it. You look at the argument. If the argument is not pointing to anything useful, you ignore it and you go back to the argument. Is PlayStation providing a valuable platform for its players? The answer is for some, yes. The answer is for some, no. The answer is for some, it could be better. Is Xbox providing a valuable platform for its users? For some, the answer is yes. For others, the answer is no. For others, the answer is it could be better. For me, I want to point out where the strengths and the weaknesses are so that other people can see them and maybe consider, in a sense, switching to a platform or maybe, in a sense, staying on their platform because they see the strengths there. You would help if you would actually provide the counterpoints rather than personal attacks. Sony accidentally reveals PlayStation's Call of Duty data. This is an article written by Danny Craig in 2023. The crux of the video today is to talk about how PlayStation in the last few years has been occupied chasing down, preventing Microsoft from acquiring Activision. Also, some of their activities like constantly money hiding games or attempting to, in some cases, in interesting ways, and they want to block those games, especially big name games from Xbox. In some cases, they block them from PC like Stellar Blade. And at the same time, in a sense, not investing in their own studios, charging their own PlayStation customers a lot of money for different things like the subscription service and even the new PS5 Pro that's coming out, which has an interesting $300, almost $300 increase from the previous console. You don't have that disc drive on the PS5 Pro. If you trade in your PS5, your games that are on disc are going to need a disc drive to actually play them. So let's look at why PlayStation seems to be all over the place. I think the pressure is coming from the market and the fact that Call of Duty, their biggest game every year, their biggest moneymaker, has now gone to the competition side. According to court documents presented during the FTC versus Microsoft trial, 1 million PlayStation players exclusively play Call of Duty on the platform, with the franchise revenue exceeding $800 million in 2021. The details. Despite a poor attempt at redacting sensitive details in a letter to the FTC, from CEO Jim Ryan, the company has inadvertently revealed data regarding the shooter franchise's impact on the PlayStation platform. According to the letter, in 2021 alone, over 14 million users by device spent 30% or more of their time playing Call of Duty. Over 6 million users spent 70% of their time on Call of Duty, and about 1 million users spent 100% of their time on Call of Duty. This metric is right now, in the context of everything we know and everything that we have, is probably one of the most damning metric. You see, we got barraged by a lot of information during that trial. So a lot of things got shelved and went by the wayside. When you see these money-hatted third-party games like Stellar Blade, or even PlayStation games not hitting or selling as much as they could, I think we start to realize that the biggest selling game on PlayStation, which was a third-party shooter game, as well as other games like EA's sports games, and even some other shooters from Epic Games and EA as well with Apex Legends, I'm sure you're probably in a position where you're thinking to yourself, this is why these single-player games are getting choked from a sales perspective. So PlayStation having to do things like move its games to PC, or in a sense move its game to Xbox in the case of MLB The Show, and move its own games to Nintendo as in the case of Lego Horizon Adventures, is logical. And for the most part, this is antithetical to what a lot of PlayStation fans, hardcore PlayStation aficionados, have said. When we point out that these are the reasons, it's valid because there seems to be a pressure from their biggest selling game, which is now moving into their own competitors' hands, which even before it moved to their competitors' hands, they had to make adjustment for their single-player games by moving them to PC to be able to mitigate the fact that their games are getting overshadowed, in a sense crowded, and outperformed by simply one video game and other video games alike, which would be Call of Duty, those sports games, and those other shooters. And I think this article is actually very interesting to actually help us see that. The article continues and says, during the same period, Call of Duty generated approximately 800 million on PlayStation in the United States alone, and approximately $1.5 billion globally. Wow. So in around the 2021 timeframe, Call of Duty was bringing in $1.5 billion. It now gives us a little bit more context when Sony, in their threat analysis, said that the impact to them, if Activision gets into the hand of Microsoft, is that it threatens PS Plus upwards of $1.5 billion of annual revenue threat, which would provide a gap for them to fill. Interesting stats, right? When I tell people that PlayStation is concerned about this, they tell me that I'm crazy. They tell me that I'm rage baiting, instead of actually asking and saying, is this true? Or it's not true because of other factors that they may be able to present. And so it's very interesting. So it helps me actually focus more when I see that they're not providing anything in contrary. I go back and I look at the evidence at hand because I'm like, I wonder what's being avoided here. According to the same document, between 2019 and 2021, the players in the aforementioned group spent approximately $15.9 billion on PlayStation hardware, accessories, games, and services. Sony previously confirmed in March that COD will contribute more than $1 billion in sales on its platform by 2021. Call of Duty was a signature game. It wasn't just a title that came every year. It was a title that helped PlayStation flourish. At this rate, with all that revenue that led to other things like consoles, accessories, skins, microtransactions, and all, it's now much more apparent that PlayStation is actually threatened by the fact that this is not only in Game Pass's and Xbox's hands, but is going to Game Pass. My fellow PlayStation fans, you've been downplaying Game Pass for the last year, even longer. And the crazy thing is, a small channel like the Video Game Fight School has the receipts. You see, to my audience member that said that I'm putting out 3 to 4 videos every day, the beauty of that is I have more comments on average than the regular YouTuber because I simply have a, bigger number of videos with bigger comment interaction. So if you actually go through those 3 to 4 videos a day, you're going to see the evidence of this downplaying for a very long time. It's just automated receipt gathering, because it's very interesting that, for some people, to downplay this is more expedient. To downplay this to them is much more important rather than actually look at the data and the evidence. They don't want to see PlayStation in a light where it hasn't, in a sense, found a way to create contingencies to be competitive in the market. For the most part, it has been in many ways compared to Nintendo, of which we know that Nintendo has no need to be dependent on a game like Call of Duty, yet PlayStation has every incentive to ensure that Call of Duty never went into Xbox's hands because it simply was dependent on it all this while. Interesting, isn't it? I wonder if I'm onto something. I just don't know. Like, I am such a curious person where every single thing to me is like, are we in the same world looking at the same thing? And if we're not, I continue to look at what I have in front of me that is concrete so that I can eventually wonder where everybody else is in the discussion. The final paragraph I'm going to read over here says this. Sony's reasoning for disclosing this information to the court is to demonstrate that losing Call of Duty on the PlayStation system will have a significant impact on its revenue, citing similar fears and even the possibility of making the titles technically worse compared to the same releases on Xbox and PC. Furthermore, Activision's existing marketing agreement with Sony will expire with the release of the 2023 entry, rumored to be Modern Warfare 3. So, PlayStation was simply concerned that they were going to make an exclusivity play and went to the courts with it, even though they knew that they weren't going to make an exclusivity play. So in a sense, they actually put out two messages. One in Jim Ryan's email, where he said he has spoken with Phil Spencer and Bobby Kotick, and then another one to the FTC, where he pretty much raised concerns that the game might leave the platform, but that was just a measure to try to block the acquisition. I wonder why. PlayStation fans, this game that, we're playing, trust me, I've played the game. I've been trained by other PlayStation fans like myself who tried to, in a sense, and I think this is what you call, is this what you call gaslighting, or is this what you call a red herring, or is this what you call an ad hominem? What is it that, is being played here? To be honest, at this point, it doesn't even really matter to me. I just see them all as distractions. I want to ensure that, folk like this eventually start paying attention to the evidence that we have at hand. The platform is not your identity. It's just a plastic box where you play video games. So again, these arguments are not against you. The arguments are to looking at what is, in my opinion, available for the consumer to make the best decisions. Right now, PlayStation, in my opinion, is not a place I would be putting my money or my time. They've not necessarily done a good job in providing contingencies, so they can't even put a good value for a gamer like me, so I went to PC. The reason I even went to PC was because I looked at Xbox and I was like, there's nothing here. That's why I went to PC. But seeing how Xbox has actually closed the gap, and according to PlayStation, leapfrogged PlayStation in acquiring Activision, and not only that, but having different ways to still provide games to people, I thought that was impressive enough to be able to point out and say, PlayStation, your competitor that you've basically had your foot on their neck for years have basically become a gaming juggernaut overnight. What have you been doing? And I wish other PlayStation fans will ask the same question with me as well. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Appreciate you all so much. Talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.